Hyderabad, South India.
Oh, okay, cool. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you, I can see you.
Oh, okay, that's fine then. So, whenever you're ready to do the interview.
It's already started.
Oh, it's already started. What do you, what would you like to know?
So I have gone through your profile and I saw that you are a crime writer and
Yeah,
cat lover and
true. Yes, I'm an author, so I write crime fiction and also courtroom drama. That's a kind of a spin-off. So I started with this book. I can show you. This is, oh, it's not, yeah, there we go. It's called The Confessional Killings.
okay,
It's a thick one, yeah. It's
okay,
so this is a book that's it's got murder and so forth, and it's set in Ireland, so it's with the Irish police, which is called the Garda, and so and it involves the Catholic Church and lots of different characters and murders, and then they go on to this second book here. This one, whoops, it keeps disappearing. Okay, this one's called The Deathbed Confession. So this is like a sequel to the first book, and then there's actually 4 books. So I'll show you them. This one here, it's called The Mass Murders, and then this one, The Cardinal Transgressions. So every single one of them is involving crimes in the church in some way, but it's also quite a humorous kind of book, and they're very big books, but there's a lot about the characters, so it's not just about one detective, it's about one main detective, but it's about his whole team, and he brings together this whole team, and then they go on to have all kinds of different adventures. There's quite a lot of action, and it's kind of also a bit spicy. If you see what I mean. So then the second book, there was a lawyer for him, and her name's Bernadette McKenna, and so I wrote this one here, which is called The Innocent Killing. And then there's a second book I just published called The Tainted Star, also starring her. So that was like a spin-off. So now I've got kind of 2 series going at the same time.
so you are from?
Well, originally from the UK. I was actually born in Africa, and I spent 11 years there, and then in about 1968 I went to the United Kingdom. I've been there until 2015, and then I came to New Zealand. And my wife is a New Zealander, and the other reason was I was studying for a doctorate, which I completed actually this year. So I graduated this year. And so now we're in New Zealand, and probably going to certainly stay here for a while, particularly with the situation around the world. Things are very difficult. So my own family's in the UK, and then my wife's family lives here. I was married before, but we've been together now for 10 years, and we got married in 2015. So I chose New Zealand because they were interested in the project, the thesis I wanted to do. And so I came to study here. And it's kind of not the same as, it's a bit like England, but it's not the same. I like it here though. It's very nice, and I've travelled around the world quite a bit. I've seen a lot of different countries. Not India, I have to say, I haven't been there yet, but certainly since we've been to New Zealand, I've been to Asia, been to Vietnam, Hong Kong, Malaysia, and in the past I've been to the States and a few other places,
Okay. So, so you are in New Zealand right now.
Yes, I'm in New Zealand, and it's that picture behind me was a picture I took of a beach quite nearby. So we have lots of really lovely beaches here, and it's very multicultural. I live in Auckland, so there's all different cultures. They come to study, come to live. It's fantastic. Lots of different cuisines here, so we can any kind of cuisine that you want, you can pretty much get it. So
So, yeah, go on.
yeah, no, I like it for that very reason. That also it is closer to Asia, so there's a bigger ties between New Zealand and Asia.
So, why only crime? Why not love or other emotions?
Well, it's because it's not really just crime. If you would read my books expecting the normal type of crime novel, it's not that kind of crime novel, because it has everything in it, all the things that I would wanted to find in a book. So it has crime, it has romance, it has humor, it has murder, and there's a lot about that. You could imagine it was not exactly like a soap opera, but you get to see all the characters' lives. So so many people that write crime, they're just focusing on the story, but I focus on the characters as well as the story. And I don't like these crime books where the detective is drinks all the time and he can't have a relationship, and and all he does is work, and his boss always tells him that he's wrong, and then he has to get suspended before he solves the crime. And there's all these things what we call tropes, the stuff that you see it all the time, and I just got fed up with it, because that's not real life. Why can't a policeman have a relationship? Why can't he just have why can't he have a successful relationship? I like happy endings. I don't like dysfunctional people that can never do anything right. So the way I write, how, I'm not saying it's the same thing, but how a Bollywood movie, it has everything in it, right? So you could say that my books have
Bollywood movies.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the music, the singing. It doesn't have the singing and dancing, but
Your words dance.
it has everything. Everything you want. It has romance and so on, and the same with the the lawyer. It also has romance. So you learn about the all of their lives, and you get involved in their lives, and that's the kind of book I like to read, which is not just all about the action or all about this, because nobody, very few people spend their whole life just at work and they do nothing else, or they come home and either just get drunk every night, and that's not realistic, and I don't. If it's not something I like. I mean, I enjoy other crime writers. I enjoy a lot of different fiction. I've read lots and lots of genres of fiction, but also I've read a lot of romance. Like Jane Austen and so forth. So all these things have kind of fed into it. So, and I wrote crime because I always wanted to write a crime novel. So now I've written 4, and then I've written 2 courtroom novels, and then I'm writing the 3rd one, and then I will go back and write the 5th one of this series. The series is called Detective Inspector Galway because the main detective is called Seamus Galway. But there are many, many detectives in his team. There's quite a few, and you get to know all of them, and there are a lot. There are women and men. It's there's a lot of. You'll find everything you could ever want in my books.
So crime, cat loving, and your name, the book name is The Innocent Killing. All these are making me to think that you are more into dark and you love to do something from the dark and you love something which is negative and which is bad.
Not really, no. I mean, crime. You can't have a crime novel with no crime, can you? So, and people love a good murder, don't they? They love a story about murder, and some of it is quite dark, but then that's the dark side. It's about a lot of it is to do with the Catholic Church, and you know that the Catholic Church has a very dark side and quite a dark history. So I have it perhaps exposed that a bit, brought that out so it kind of becomes a team of detectives that are looking at crimes committed by people in the church mainly, and that part is dark, but at the same time, because I make it humorous, so it's not all dark. It's dark and light, because you've got the kind of romantic side of it, then that sort of lightens it up. So I think if you read one, you would see that it is ultimately not it had shades of grey. It's dark and light, so it's not a dark novel. At the end, I like to see if there's a possibility for some redemption, perhaps for some of the characters. So nobody is universally bad. That's the thing. I don't believe that there is a black and white that you're bad or you're good or you're this or you're that. So there are some very, very bad criminals in the real world, but sometimes people commit crimes because of how they have been grown up. So there may be mitigating circumstances. So some of the villains are very bad in my books, and some of them are not. You will perhaps read the first 2 novels and be in 2 minds at the end about whether you felt the villain was really that bad or whether they weren't. And so that's part of the skill of trying to, as a novelist, you're trying to make people think perhaps a bit more, and at the same time entertain them. So there's kind of a message in there, but there's also entertainment, and I've just tried to put it all together. So I think I would say they're more lighter than they are dark.
So
You know
I
what I
have
mean?
a few questions for you.
Yeah, go
Uh,
ahead.
so you're more into crime and you observe crime and you understand crime. So I'm fascinated into crime. I love watching crime, and I love to study the people who are criminals.
Yeah.
I wanted to know how they are developing that kind of mindset and where that thoughts are coming from. So And
To well,
I didn't
how do
complete
I?
my question.
Yeah. What is your
So
question?
yeah, so the criminals, they are called as criminals, the criminals in legal aspect. But when you see them as a human beings, they are doing something and they are believing that what they are doing is right at that particular time when they are doing a crime.
That's
But
true.
nobody, whatever you said just before, you're correct because there is no good or there is no bad. But in their perspective, they are doing something that they wanted at that particular time, and they are not knowing that they are doing something, they are affecting some person.
True.
So in others' perspective, it is wrong or it is bad, or it is called as and there are systems which are going to take care of them. So what is crime to you, and what do you how do you explain this kind of people who are into crime and who are taking decision to do that time? Do they know that whether they are doing something which is bad, or they are just doing that act because they are not thinking, or they are ready to face the consequences of their act.
Um, it's a very good question. I mean, I think that the you have a two different halves of society. You have the criminals who are running by one code and everybody else running along a different sort of moral code. And so does the criminal know that what they're doing is wrong? And I would say yes, they do. But I think they don't always care. I think there's a level of responsibility that the normal person has for their fellow beings that criminals don't have, in the sense that they don't care if they're hurting other people. So to some degree, I think that crime is very often a very selfish activity, because the criminal and the big bosses just they for example, when they're dealing drugs and those sort of things that are hurting a lot of people, but they don't care about the fact that they're making all these addicts all over the world and so forth. So I don't. I think that's, to me, as that's just morally wrong. Um, but there are shades of crime. So there are other people that commit crimes like murder, where they are doing it maybe to solve a problem that they feel they have. For example, a person could be abused. They could be abused, and eventually they will murder the abuser. So when you look at that sort of crime and you think, well, who is the criminal there? Because the abuser is the real criminal in a way, and then this person has killed them. And there's the moral dilemma, because we say murder is wrong. You shouldn't have murdered that person, but perhaps the law has not helped them. Perhaps the services didn't help them, or they felt there was no way out. And sometimes I think people feel there's no way out. Sometimes people are at the bottom levels of society, and they feel that there's nobody there, there's no safety net, and so they might steal because they can't, because they're hungry, or or they get involved in the drugs because that's a way to make easy money, because they can't make the money, they feel they can't succeed in another way. So I think you've got different motivations. You've got this one set of very selfish motivations, which is just, to me, it's just greed. I don't care how I ruin people's lives. I'm just gonna, I don't care, because got what I want, and I will go and rob their house or whatever, and I don't care. But then you've also got the other side of people that find themselves trapped in a situation and they turn to crime because they feel it's their only way out. And then you've got, for example, people who are perhaps drug addicts, alcoholics. They're driven by an addiction, and when somebody is driven by an addiction, they commit all sorts of crimes because they can't overcome the addiction. So again, are they really a criminal? As you know, there's a shade of criminality there. It's like, are they a real criminal, or are they a victim of the circumstances in which they found themselves? And I think when you look at some of the very poorer countries where there's a lot of crime, you start to see that the society itself has created, that's my opinion, the society has created the crime, because there's not enough, there's a division, too much of a division of rich and poor, or that nobody cares enough to help people to get to rise above it to the point where they feel there's another way out. You know, quite often, crime is an easy way out. Although it isn't, because in the end you'll get caught and you'll go to jail and then you've ruined your whole life. But, you know, I just think there's layers. But then I think you also, just to sort of finish it, that you have some truly evil people in the world. And if you look at some of the worst serial killers, the real ones, then those people are truly evil because they just wanted to, I suppose, get off on somebody's suffering. They seem to be compelled to go and just kill, and it gives them some kind of a buzz to do it. You know, so, you know, that again is very selfish, but it's also hugely harmful. And those kind of people, there's no remedies how to put them into prison for the rest of their lives, because they're always going to commit some kind of an offence.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I just think there's so many different. I don't think you can just say, oh, these criminals are all bad and we're all good, because I think there are so many factors that have created crime and criminals, and I think there are some truly bad people in this world, but I wouldn't designate every single person that gets convicted of a crime or commits a crime as truly bad. I suppose that's how I would summarize it.
So at last, we'll talk about you loving cats.
Yes, I do love cats. I suppose I grew up with cats. When I was young in Africa, we had lots of different animals, but particularly cats. And then through my life, I had about 25 cats.
Okay.
And 25. I mean, there's only one surviving cat that I have now. But I suppose, why do I like cats? Because, well, first of all, they always look very cute, and they always have they all have their own little personality, but they're also very independent. So you can't make cats do anything they don't want to do. You know, they're not like a dog. You can't train a cat, really. And a cat will do what it wants. And I think cats kind of manipulate you as the human. They know how to manipulate you and get you to do what they want. And so, you know, my cat wakes me up because as it's got earlier and earlier, because it's spring here, so when the dawn comes, the cat comes and wakes me up because she wants food. And she knows how to wake me up, so in the end I get up and give her the food. So, you know, she knows exactly how to get her way around me. But I think the other thing about cats, not all of them, but so they're very loyal cats in a way. They sort of bond with you, and they have their own language. You can tell when they're meow. I don't understand cat language, but I do recognize when she's meowing one way or another way, that she wants food, or she wants to be stroked, or she wants to go out. I don't know. I mean, they're just a very nice. They're a good companion. They're good because you don't have to take them for walks. For example, with a dog, you've got to take it for walks. You've got to take it out to the toilet. You've got to pick all its mess. You've got to look after dogs a lot more than you have to look after cats, as cats will look after themselves. And the only problem is you can never tell if it's going to be a really friendly cat, or if you don't know how it's going to turn out when you get the kitten. So it might be a cat that wants to sit on you all day and be stroked, or it might be a cat that doesn't like that. But of course you've already grown to whatever cat they turn out. You just have already grown to love them, so you accept them for what they are. So in a way, they're a bit like humans. They're all very different.
So, uh, at last, do you have anything to say to the people who watches this video from anywhere on this planet?
Like what?
Anything about your books, or about the world, about life, about my videos? Have you seen any of my videos?
I haven't watched them all yet, but I will. Yeah, I mean, it's good that you're doing this. Why do you do this out of interest? Just for the hell of it?
I want to know what different different people in the world, how they are thinking, what they are thinking, why they are thinking, where their thoughts are coming from. I just want to know the base where they are coming and what is making them to do so many things. I just wanted to travel all over the world through using the medium called internet.
That's amazing. So you've traveled the world except just by talking to people.
Yeah,
That's a really good idea.
I
So
traveled 40 countries.
that's fantastic. Oh dear. Um, I don't know. What do I want to say? Well, as an author, I just hope people would read my books. I mean, I don't really know if there's an audience for them in your country, but that would be nice. I mean, obviously they're written in English, so they're not written in any other language. Um, but I think people would enjoy them. I mean, if I turn it round, I've enjoyed lots of Indian movies in my time. I've seen quite a few, and some of them are very, very good. You've got a fantastic technological film industry over there. I mean, you produce really good stuff. It's like technologically beautiful and beautifully shot, and well directed. I think I think everybody thinks that Hollywood is the only place that produces good movies, but there's so many places all over the world making really good films, and making them really well. So I've got a lot of time for that. Also, I think we've watched a few series on Netflix, some really good, as I say, some very thoughtful films, not just the Bollywood type style of film, but there's some other very thoughtful movies I've seen. Um, so I think that literature, I think reading books and watching movies and all of these things, uh, the arts is a very important thing in the world. If you could imagine there was no art in the world, it would be right a very sad place. But uh, books in particular are great because you create this book, you write this book, but each person who reads it creates a different movie in their head from the book. As they're reading it, they will see it or imagine in their head, and every single one of them would be different. If you could actually film everybody's head, everybody's thoughts, you would see 100 different versions of your book, because all the characters would look different. I've had fans say to me, "Oh, this is what I think this character looks like," or send me a picture of somebody and say, "Oh, he looks," but it's nothing like I imagine. Their version isn't my version. I've got this version, but I think that's great, because it's almost like, when you make a film, you've got a script, and then the director and all those other people, they create this, the vision from it. But if another director was to take that script, it would be a different vision. But it's the script that makes the beginning of the vision, the scripts. And then, so I think the great thing about novels is that you can just escape into a different world. And, the world sometimes isn't a great place. And particularly now with COVID and all the things that 2020 probably has been the worst year in my lifetime. And yet you can read a book, and for a few hours you can go somewhere else in your head. And it's great, because it can lift you up. It can make you feel all kinds of different emotions. So I think reading's very important, and perhaps we've lost it a bit, because so many people now watch movies instead of reading books. I mean, even me, I used to read and read and read. Of course, I'm a writer now, but I have less time to read books. And I'd also say that I think reading is tremendously important for children. I was read to as a child, and my father and my two sisters, they used to make up all these amazing stories out of their heads, and perhaps that's partly why I became a writer, because of that, and also because they instilled a love of literature, of reading. So I read a lot. Both my sisters read, and so forth. So, and when my children, I read to my children, and I think that's a really important thing to do. And if I was to give a message as a writer to anyone in the world, read to your children. The biggest gift you can do is sit down every night with your child and read them a bedtime story. Until they get old enough, they don't want to have that. But it's a really beautiful moment. It's a bonding moment as a parent, but it also, you will give them a bigger vocabulary, and you'll give them a love of books. And a book is something you can always read, whereas if you want to watch a film, you've got to have something to watch it on. You've got to have something to stream it. But if you've got a book, you can just read the book. You can sit down and read a book anywhere in the world, anytime, in the bath, one of my favorite places to read books. But it's a great way to relax. And so I think in the age of high technology, don't forget to read books, but also to read books to your kids. Get your kids involved in reading. It's the best way for them to become more literate, as they'll get a bigger vocabulary. And it sparks up their imagination, Plus it's fun. You get to act out all this, do all the different voices, and that's kind of fun too. Plus, I was able then to read to my kids the books that were my favourite books when I was a child. I was able to pass it on, And the funny thing is those books never get old, you know, like Winnie the Pooh, Paddington Bear, and some of those books I was still laughing when I read them again. You know, there were some very, very funny things in them, and I was absolutely cracking up with them. So it's great because you get to relive those childhood memories of your own and pass them on to your children.
So thank you, David. Thank you for coming and telling about a
That's
lot
all
of
right.
things. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Can
I
I? Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. It's been really very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And can I put this video on my YouTube channel and on my social networks with your
Yeah,
permission?
well, you can put it wherever you want. It's fine. Yeah, no
Thank
worries.
you. Thank you so much. I want you to reach all over the world with your uh, crime writings.
Thank you. That would be great. So just don't forget my author name is D.R. Bailey. Okay, so
I'll put your books in the description of this video.
yeah.
People who wants to buy from Amazon, they will buy it.
All right, fantastic. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, and I'll be happy to speak to you again anytime you like.
Yeah.
Let me know. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Thanks again.
All right. Bye bye then.
Bye.